Hello guys, this is your fanfic Dono and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Got Married to Tsunade Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfic. Currently the silver-haired warrior was inside of his mindscape. He was having another training session with his mother. But this spar was different than the others, it was the last. He wore black cargo pants and a dark green shirt. He wore his black clothed headband around his waist like a belt. The metal plate was held right in front of the pants, acting much like a belt buckle. His silver hair had grown to reach the middle of his back. But you could still see some streaks of yellow in random places in the hair. Fortunately, his eyes remained their original electric blue color. You would easily be able to see the blue eyes if they were currently that color. At the moment they were a very light purple, borderlining on gray, with a ripple effect design. The color of his bloodline, the Rinnegan. I can't believe that is going to be the last time we see each other, Ka-san. It seems like it was only yesterday when we first met. Which reminds me, there are some questions you have yet to answer, he said, eyeing his mother. Across from him was said mother, her eyes resembling his. She wore an old-fashioned kunoichi outfit, excluding the armored shinobi mask. Her outfit was the natural black. She also wore straw sandals and black socks. Her long red hair flowed down her back, much like her son's own silver hair. I know, son, and I will answer those questions before I go. Now is the time we fight, she said as the large field of grass rose higher than the two stealth fighters. After the grass stopped rising, trees started growing. With all the growing going on, the mindscape was soon turned into a prey's nightmare. But which one of these fighters is the real predator? After the mindscape finished its transformation, Naruto rocketed through the tall grass. His Rinnegan told him that the grass around him was filled with chakra. It was his and his mother's jobs to find each other through all of the chakra-riddled forestry. This is nothing, I've done this dozens of times. I'll find her in no time, he thought to himself before jumping out of the tall grass and used his eyes to focus on his mother's moving chakra. Kushina appeared behind Naruto and kicked at his head. The boy ducked under the swipe and quickly grabbed her leg. This is a water clone. Unimportant, but relatively annoying, he thought as his eyes got a good look at the female. You're going to have to try harder than that, Maher, he said, slamming the clone on the branch, making it splinter and nearly break in half. The clone then proceeded to splash back into its liquid form. Naruto stood to his full height, 4 feet and 7 inches. He looked down to see a water bullet heading straight for the branch he was on. Because of the damage it had already sustained, the pressurized water was able to destroy the branch. Luckily, the silver-haired shinobi had already jumped off the branch. While he was in the air, his mother appeared in above him. Shinra Tensei. Almighty push, she said, rocketing the preteen back into the forest floor. Naruto landed in the shrubs, disoriented. He shook his head as he stood up. Oh no, she didn't, he mumbled, looking at the smirking face of his mother. Okay, I got something for that, he said, weaving through a series of hand signs. Let's get rid of this forest first, he said, charging throughout his entire body. After a large amount of heat could be seen shimmering around the boy. Kaden. Arekuruu Jigoku. Raging Inferno, he yelled as a wave of fire erupted all around him, burning the forest to cinders. Thankfully, it took Naruto way more than 5 seconds to execute his fiery technique. By that time, Kushina used a clone to almighty push the flames, while she herself used the added time to use a couple of shunshuns to quickly appear away from the flames. The more techniques he makes, the more dangerous they become, she thought with a frown, thinking of all the mysterious techniques he could use against her. Naruto looked around at his work. Wow, I'm glad I'm in my mind. If I wasn't, this would obviously make a lot of people mad, he said, canceling the flames and taking off on a run. He looked to his right to see a dozen shuriken turning into 100, all of which were heading towards him. His eyes radiated chakra as he outstretched his right arm. Shinra Tensei. The technique did its job and pushed the projectiles away and sent some back to their sender. Let's stop with this guerrilla warfare and get to the real fight. Naruto said, crossing his arms as his bloodline deactivated. No bloodline. No running. No mercy. He said as his pupils turned to slits to show his extreme focus on his target. No mercy. Huh, she said, deactivating her own Rinnegan. Interesting. Do you really think you can keep up with me without your Rinnegan? Naruto smirked as he uncrossed his arms. I have a feeling you won't be able to answer my questions after this is over. How about you answer them now, before we get started? He asked her. First off, what's the real reason you're in here? Just like your father, I was also able to insert you with chakra. Your father put only enough to stop you from fully releasing the Kyuubi while using its chakra. She stopped to see him nodded, already knowing that. Well, I put all of my chakra in you. I also put part of my soul inside of you. Part? So you're telling me that you split your soul in two? Naruto questioned with wide eyes. Yes. The other part is inside the Shinigami, along with your father's. I made a deal with the god to allow me to train you. Only when you activated your Rinnegan, she said, looking at the artificial sky. And I couldn't have two souls in me, so the Kyuubi made the deal more approachable to the god. She nodded, looking at him. So when you go, will the Kyuubi return? He asked. Absolutely. The soul would return, only to have you gain full control, she said, disappearing. Naruto looked around, keeping his guard up. How come I didn't activate this bloodline before I came to this time period? Naruto asked out loud. I don't know. I guess realizing that you didn't have any parents to take care of you, didn't cause you enough emotional pain to have it activated, she said, appearing behind him and punching right at his spine. She was ultimately surprised when the body exploded. She was launched backward, her clothes nearly burned off in the blast. When did he make that Kage Bunshin Bakua? Shadow clone explosion, she thought, a little dizzy from the up-close and personal explosion. I'm glad I didn't overload that clone with a massive amount of charka, like I had previously thought of. Otherwise, I wouldn't be enjoying our last fight together. Naruto said, smirking as he rose from beneath the earth. Kushina rolled her eyes at her son's nonchalant and cocky attitude. I guess that's only fair. After all, I wouldn't want our fight to end too soon. Or else you'll think your mother is weak without her bloodline, she said, quickly closing their distance and punching him in the gut. Naruto groaned at the punch and was hit another 3 times, each in 3 other spots, before his mother gave him a final punch to his jaw. Luckily, Naruto was able to block the attack and kick his mother in the sternum, making her slide backwards with her feet still planted on the ground. Naruto didn't end there as he appeared in front of her and thrust his palm out. Futon. Gekitai Kyosei. Forced repel, he smirked when the attack sent Kushina flying, literally, across the field. He looked at his hand. The attack he did was an upgraded version of Repusho, Gale Wind Palm, and a more precise version of Shinra Tensai. He used the gravity manipulation he learned to control with a lot of difficulty, while his Rinnegan wasn't activated. It had a lot more power behind the attack, used no hand seals, and was totally unavoidable when used with taijutsu. He looked in the distance at his mother. She was slowly struggling to get out of a small hill. Kushina groaned as she shook her head of any cobwebs. What the hell was that? I don't remember that jutsu being developed, she thought, stumbling to get up. I only have about 20 minutes left in here. Fighting my son is only shortening the time, she realized as she sat up. Doden. Doryuden. Earth Dragon Projectile. Kushina looked up to see an earthen dragon spitting mud at her. She moved her head to the side to avoid the first one. For the rest of projectiles, she just kept moving her body out of the way. Naruto watched his mom dodged his projectiles and frowned in annoyance. He cancelled the technique and weaved through more hand seals. Suiden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Water Dragon Projectile Technique. Water quickly appeared throughout the air and formed a dragon. Kushina watched the dragon being formed and smirked. You think you can hurt me with water? You're sadly mistaken, Sochi, she said, going through her own hand seals. Sweden. Heigashi Nami. Fierce wave, she said as the dragon heading towards her went completely around her and went towards Naruto. As it was going towards him, it turned into a giant wave. Naruto looked at the wave in surprise. Damn, I kind of walked into this, he said, jumping back continuously. As he was jumping, he flew through hand seals as quickly as his fingers let him. Futon. Atsugai. He said as the pressurized wind put a hole in the wave. Naruto just jumped through the hole. Now with the wave out of the way, he looked around, but couldn't find his mother. It was then he noticed he was in a genjutsu that altered all of his senses. He didn't even feel it when it took hold, but he was in his own mind and didn't have control over it. He quickly broke it to find himself on his back, with his mother over him with a kunai pointed at his neck. You lose, Naruto-kun. You're still having problems with genjutsu, fix the problem or you're screwed, she said, standing up. Naruto remained on his back. He looked at his mom. You really think I would just let you win? Don't tell me you forgot about my exploding clones, he said, causing his mother to widen her eyes. But instead of an explosion of fire, an explosion of smoke was all that clouded her vision, as her body fell about a couple of inches to the floor. After the smoke cleared, the redhead looked around to see hundreds of identical copies of her silver-haired son. She silently cursed at the doppelgangers. Be careful, mother, I put a couple of exploding clones in this batch. Naruto warned his mother, his voice being projected through all of the clones in the field. Kushina began to sweat in slight fear, before she began smirking. I can get rid of these in a couple of minutes. After that I'll only have about 5 minutes left before I vanish, she thought to herself as she fought her last battle with her son. Naruto age 22. Naruto was shaken awake from his dream of the past by his best friend and brother in everything but blood, Hatake Tsukumo. Now being a part of history, Naruto had the chance to meet many legends in the flesh. Tsukumo was the best of the best and he was best friends with the man. They first met about a week after his initial removal from Team Sarutboy, now Team Hokage. Yes, Hiruzen was now Hokage, thanks to that pre-invasion plan a decade ago. Who would have known that AIM also knew about Tsunade's plan to trek through their territory, and also planned to cut them off? With that, a battle between Tsunade's Nadaime Kazekage, Tobirama Senju, Konoha's own Nadaime Hokage, and lastly the leader of Omegakure Hanzo of the Salamander. That mask-wearing bastard surprised both of the major village parties. He and his ambush army attacked fast, while he personally went straight towards Tobirama and the Kazekage and begun the battle. You would think, with a common enemy, Tobirama and the Kazekage would work together to dispose of the problem. That was not the case. Instead, Hanzo and the Kazekage realized that with all the water from the rain, Tobirama would be far more dangerous. It was a 2-against-1 fight, with the Hokage being the one. Fortunately, Hiruzen, Homura, Koharu, and Danzo was there to lessen the assault on their last remaining sensei and their Nadaime, respectfully. Hiruzen and Danzo teamed up against the Nadaime Kazekage, while Koharu and Homura faced off against multiple Jonin and Anbu from both Suna and AIM. The fights were said to be epic in size and time. An hour of straight cage-level brawls. Hiruzen and Danzo came out victorious in their fight against the Kazekage. Unfortunately, Danzo suffered massive injuries. His right arm and right eye was ultimately damaged. The arm was severed at his shoulder. The eye was just lucky the forearm took most of the damage. Danzo was lucky that Enma, in his staff form, took off the Kazecage's head, courtesy of Hiruzen. Do you know how hard a staff has to be and how hard you have to swing said staff, to take someone's head off? Well, Hiruzen was glad that he and Enma was the perfect combination for the job. Naruto wasn't told how Tobirama fought with Hanzo. All he knew was that the Nadaime was killed by poison. Strong poison at that, venom to be precise. Venom found in a venom sac of a black salamander. That's obviously where the man got his name from. With the deaths of their leaders, Suna and Konoha retreated to their respective villages. And Hanzo back to rest his body and allow it to heal. That had been the first and last major loss Konoha had ever been dealt. And with the defeat coming from the hands of Hanzo of AIM, the Land of Rain had become the new battleground for every future battle with Tsunade, and don't even get me started on Iwagakure. Their actions after the fight was to try to send countless spies into both countries to see which one was better to invade. They chose Suna and marched through Ishi no Kuni to get to Kei's no Kuni. Konoha was lucky that Hiruzen was a natural leader. He quickly helped his village out of their despair from losing one of the founders of the village, with the first of his legendary speeches. Ever since that battle, the training regime of every shinobi in Konoha rose through the roof. And that's where we return to Naruto and his everything but blood brother Tsukumo. Naruto, wake up. It's time to move out, he said. Tsukumo attire wasn't all that special, as it was just the standard outfit for any jonin. He looked too much like his future son, that Naruto had almost called him Kakashi when they first became jonins. Taicho, we sighted Tsunade Senpai and the rest of the squad fighting Hanzo. An Anbu member, clad in a black cloak and a cat mask, said at the mouth of the cave the two silver-haired teens were in. Naruto say up against the wall of the cave. What's the status of the entire squad? Never mind, I shouldn't even ask. If what Sarutobi ni told me is true, then Hanzo is one dangerous bastard. Naruto said as he and Tsukumo stood to their feet. Naruto was decked out in a black Anbu-style armor. His standard Anbu tattoo graced his left shoulder. Black gloves covered his hands, gray forearms protectors, black pants and gray shin protectors. His boots were also black. He also had a mesh-style undershirt and his headband was non-existent. It was prohibited to have your headband while on missions outside of Hai no Kuni, which was all the time. In its place was a mask of a wolf, to show his place as the leader in the pack, so to speak. The mask itself was never worn and always hung from his hip. Alright, lead the way, Naruto commanded as he and Tsukumo sped out of the cave with the other three Anbu members following. In minutes Naruto and Tsukumo dropped to the ground, right behind their comrades. Suheim, Naruto said, causing the woman to turn around. Naruto-kun, she nearly screamed. She turned back towards Hanzo, who stood on top of his massive salamander. I told you he'll be here. Prepare to have your ass handed to you. Hanzo looked down at the newcomers. Well, if it isn't the Futogo no Jinokami. Twin silver wolves, this day just got more interesting. I just named these three Konoha's Densetsu no Sanin and now I get to fight you too. Let's get started, shall we? He said, vanishing from atop his salamander. Tsukumo also vanished. Soon the sounds of fighting filled the air. Meanwhile Naruto checked the remaining three members of the infiltrating squad. They each were wearing Anbu-style armor, but none were actually in the core. Thank Kami, you're still breathing, he told all three. Orochimaru scoffed, of course we're still breathing. We're the legendary Sanin, he said, smiling. Naruto looked at his friend with a straight face. We just became the damn Sanin, Jiraiya said from around Orochimaru's arm. Don't you think you should help Tsukumo-kun? I mean, Hanzo is pretty strong, Tsunade said. Naruto shook his head. Tsukumo can handle himself. How'd the hell you get detected during your mission? Naruto said, looking at his squad and seeing them decimating some Chunins. They have a pretty impressive security system. You see this rain? Jiraiya asked, pointing up with a finger. I haven't fully figured it out yet, but I know that 20 minutes after entering, we were surrounded. Jiraiya explained. Naruto nodded, looking at the raindrops that were hitting them. Impressive indeed, he stated, looking towards Tsukumo and Hanzo's fight. The silver-haired teen had just cut into the older man's chest with his white chakra tanto. With that tanto, Tsukumo gained his own personal name. Konoha's Shiro Kiba, White Fang, is what he's called when he and Naruto aren't together. Naruto continued to watch his brother fight the man that killed his Nadaime. He narrowed his eyes in frustration and vanished. Hanzo held his chest in slight pain. The cut wasn't deep, but there was white chakra leaking from it. What the hell did you do to me? He asked. Tsukumo smirked. Wouldn't you like to know? he said as more chakra covered his tanto. Let me show you what I did, he said, swinging the tanto towards the wounded man. Ninpu. Chakura no Yajirashi. Arrows of chakra. 3 arrows launched at Hanzo with incredible speed. Hanzo couldn't dodge the speeding arrows. And because of that, he was hit exactly on his wound. He yelled in pain as crouched on a single knee. This is like a homing beacon, he realized, indicating the white chakra on his wound. Tsukumo would have answered back, but was stopped as he witnessed Naruto kicking the man in the side of the head. I was wondering when you were going to join the fight. No lie, that man is crazy strong, he said, looking towards the downed man. I know what you mean. He must have had his full attention on you. Because on the way I was expecting him to grab me out of the air. Naruto said, scratching his head. Maybe your arrows did more damage than you thought. Tsukumo shook his head. No, you know the arrow's damage is only based on the amount of chakra I have on the target, he explained, looking at Hanzo. The leader of AIM rose to his feet and felt his mask. Part of it was cracked and he ripped it off in anger. Those bastards. I will kill them, he thought in anger. Naruto watched Hanzo closely. He could see a weird light green mist escaping from the man's mouth, before it was overcome by the rain. That must be what killed Tobirama-sama. We have to be careful now and keep our distance, Naruto said, quickly glancing at Tsukumo, who nodded. Hanzo was soon found gone from his spot. Where the hell did he go? Tsukumo asked as he was watching him the entire time. Naruto looked back to really find the man gone. He heard a gurgling sound and looked to see Hanzo choking Tsukumo. The man inhaled and everything started moving in slow motion for Naruto. He dashed forward, and right when the man was about to exhale venom right in Tsukumo's face, he thrust both of his hands. Futon. Yakutai Suru Suyoi. Intense repel, just like its single-palmed counterpart, Hanzo was launched across the field, but not without one of the attacks hitting the man's elbow, shattering the bone and ripping through the flesh. Tsukumo dropped to the floor, coughing. He reached up and ripped the dismembered arm from around his neck. He looked up at Naruto to thank him when he noticed the look in his eye. It was his Rinnegan and he had only used it when he was at his angriest. Stay out for the rest of the fight, Ni-san. I'll handle the rest. Tsukumo could do nothing but nodded slowly. Naruto looked back at Tsunade. I'm going to avenge your grand uncle, my love, he said, just loud enough to be heard by everyone. He turned back and started walking towards Hanzo's location. His walk turned into a jog and his jog, into a sprint. That sprint turned into him vanishing. Tsunade looked back at the location, where Naruto was last seen. Previously, every time she would see him with the Rinnegan, it would bring chills up and down her spine. But the sight of it now made her feel relaxed and protected. Don't hold back anything, she thought the obvious. Orochimaru glared at the distance, where he and everyone else could feel Naruto's chakra running wildly. With Hanzo's dropping lower and lower, trees were being uprooted and flames were spreading, seemingly ignoring the fire. He was angry that he didn't have a bloodline like Naruto's. It's always him. Why is he so special? Why is it that I can never match his power? He thought as he turned his attention to Tsukumo. And even this one, he even surpasses our power. I can tell he wasn't fighting at his full strength. His special Tanto and Naruto's Rinnegan are the most desired things I want, and I will have them. I just have to wait. Orochimaru schemed. Sweet Kami, I'm glad he's on our side, Jiraiya said when he seen a massive Shinra Tensei. It was focused downward and made a, just as massive, visible crater in the ground. Everybody nodded their heads, now knowing that with the last attack Hanzo was no more. The entire area was dead silent. The Anbu had quickly disposed of the Chunins and Jonins that were with Hanzo, causing any leftovers to flee back to the village. In the distance Naruto could be seen walking back. A few cuts along his armor, but nothing that couldn't be quickly repaired. The Rinnegan was no longer active and he walked with an air of accomplishment. He had just defeated Hanzo the Salamander. Just like what he suspected, Hanzo couldn't compete with the Rinnegan. That was why Nagato Pain was able to defeat him so easily. It was obvious that a Rinnegan used in anger brings victory to the bearer. Naruto approached the group. Even with the failure of your mission, I guess we can count the death of their leader a success, he said, smiling brightly. With aim finally dealt with, the second ninja war is officially over, he said, crossing his arms. Tsukumo and the others shook their head at Naruto's declaration. Taicho, even though the war's over, we can still continue their mission. All we have to do is retrieve information about their defense system, just in case we need to use it against them in the future. One of Naruto's female subordinates said, appearing behind Naruto, crouched in a bow. The captain nodded. Yes, Usagi, Rabbit. Tsukumo, could you lead the mission? You're just as good a leader as I am, he said, walking to and taking Tsunade's hand. Tsukumo sighed at the offer. I would like to return to Kai-chan back at home. She and I have not spent all that time together and I would like to rectify that, he argued. The Anbu captain nodded his head. Yeah, I understand that. But I haven't spent any time with Suheim. Even with the end of the war, I wouldn't be able to have this chance for a long time. I'm still an Anbu captain, remember? Then how about stop being a damn Anbu captain? You knew how the hours were going to be when you joined that damn corps 5 years ago. That's your own fault, Tsukumo responded, crossing his arms. Naruto looked at Tsunade for help. Oh brother, she thought, rolling her eyes. Don't look at me like that. I'm not fighting your battles, she said, putting her hands on her hips. Come on, Tsukumo. You're going to go anyway. Just go without me. You can boss around my squad as much as you want, the younger silver-haired Anbu captain offered. What? Usagi couldn't help but yell. 2 more Anbu members dropped next to her. A Kame turtle masked male and a Neko cat masked female. Tempting, Tsukumo mumbled, rubbing his chin, feeling some hairs. Taicho, you can't be serious. Kame said. Yeah, I'm not serious. You can't command my squad. Neko, lead the mission. It's your duty as lieutenant anyway. Naruto caved in. Yada. She cheered, showing why Naruto didn't want her to lead. She was like a little kid stuck in a grown woman's body. Don't worry, Taicho, I'll lead this mission flawlessly, she said, disappearing with a shunshin. The other 2 members sighed dreadfully and vanished with their lieutenant. I hate you so much, Naruto said, looking at Tsukumo. Tsukumo smiled. Oh, stop exaggerating, he said, chuckling loudly. Have fun on your date, he said, laughing again as he used a shunshin to begin his journey home. What kind of date is this? Naruto nearly yelled as he glanced at all the dead bodies. A bad one, Jiraiya said, making Tsunade and Naruto glare at him. He nervously chuckled as he quickly removed himself from Orochimaru's help and started walking away. The previous blonde noticed how slow Jiraiya was moving and sighed. You 3 should take it easy for a while. We need to find a place to allow you to rest, he said as he left a clone to properly bury the lost leaf ninja and burn the others. Hanzo already being sealed and ready for transport to the village. Hopefully the medics there could work with what's left. I agree. The sooner we rest up, the sooner I can return home, Tsunade said before looking over at Naruto. You did get Hanzo's body right. I'm thinking if I can find out what made him so poisonous, I can not only devise an antidote but we can put it in our own arsenal. What do you take me for, an inattentive genin? I got the bastard right here, he said, patting his pouch that contained the scroll that contained Hanzo. You keep talking to me like that and you'll wish you were an inattentive genin, Tsunade said, scowling at Naruto. Hey look, it stopped raining, Naruto said, trying to distract her only to find that it indeed had stopped raining. It'll be back tomorrow, Orochimaru said truthfully. Not that I'm trying to interrupt any of you, but we're being followed. Naruto stopped moving, with a thoughtful look on his face as he begun thinking. Wait, doesn't Jiraiya and them meet the AIM orphans around this time? He thought, turning around. You can come out now, Naruto said. A head peeked out from behind a fallen tree. A weird helmet was left down behind the little boy's neck. Orange hair and bright blue eyes. He jogged toward them and held out his hand. Give me your food. Naruto, knowing this was Yahiko, dug into his pouch, not at all surprised about the forceful tone. He took out a scroll that contained food. What about your friends? I have enough for all three of you. He smiled, looking in the distance to see the other two, Konan and Nagato. They each had to be around 7 or 8 years old. They were also wearing identical helmet thingies. Jiraiya walked beside Naruto to get a better look at the three children. These children have been following us since the battlefield, he said, crouching down and giving the orange-haired child another piece of bread. Why aren't you at home? A battlefield isn't a place for children. They don't have a home to go to, Jiraiya. They're orphans, Baka. Tsunade said, slapping Jiraiya in the back of the head. We should just put them out of their misery and kill them. That way they wouldn't have to suffer. At that point the three children stopped eating and started panicking. Why do you have to be so cold-hearted, Tem? We're not going to kill anybody. Naruto said, resisting the urge to launch a fireball at the snake user. So what are your names? Naruto asked, looking at the three children already knowing the answer. I'm Yahiko. The orange-haired boy said. That's Konan, he said, pointing at the blue-haired little girl. And this one is Nagato. What's the matter with them? They can't talk. Jiraiya said. What the hell's wrong with you? They're obviously shy because we're from Konoha. Shinobi from our village probably. Naruto trailed off as he began to think. He looked at Nagato. Nagato, from my time, told me that he activated his Rinnegan before he met the Sannin. So he must have it on now, since he couldn't seem to deactivate it. Naruto thought, gesturing for Nagato to come to him with his finger. Nagato, come here. There's something oddly familiar about you, he said, playing it off perfectly. What's wrong, Naruto? What could be familiar about someone you only just met? Tsunade said from behind Naruto, as Orochimaru just sighed and watched. Before Nagato could decline and speak his mind, Yahiko yelled. Train is to become strong like you. I've heard enough, Orochimaru said, pushing off the tree he was leaning against. I have to go return to my remaining student and tell him the news about the war being over, he said, walking away. Tell Nawaki-kun I said hi, she said before turning to Naruto and smiling brightly at how he saved Nawaki a few weeks ago. But that's another story. Let's just say, their love has grown stronger. If you train us, I'll give you this. Konan said from the side as she took out a origami rose head. She offered it to Tsunade, who smiled at the little girl and took the flower. Sorry, sweetie, but I can't train you. I have to return to the village, she said apologetically. I'll train you kids, Jiraiya said, shocking Tsunade. I have a book to write. This break will be the perfect for me to finish just that. Jiraiya said, smiling as he rubbed Yahiko's head. Who knows? I might even find my child of prophecy, he said, smiling brightly. Naruto looked at Jiraiya, the child of prophecy. Oh yeah, that's me, he thought, smiling. He turned back to Nagato. Show me your eyes, he said, almost in a commanding voice. Everyone stared at Naruto, surprised. They had seen him commanding squads of Anbu, Jonin, Chunin, and even them, but orphan children. Naruto, what's wrong with you? Jiraiya asked before Tsunade could. The Uzumaki ignored him and continued to stare into the child, aware of all of the children's fear. Finally Nagato complied and moved the hair away from his eyes. The Rinnegan was revealed to everyone. The others gasped at seeing the Rinnegan in another person. Naruto lowered his head, his own bangs overshadowing his eyes. He took a deep breath and rose his head. Hi cousin, he said, his own Rinnegan activated. Naruto looked at his plate to see eggs and sausage, with hash browns and most of all, 3 pancakes stacked high. Unfortunately that was about 5 minutes ago. Now all that remained was syrupy residue and bits of eggs. The silvery-haired shinobi leaned back and patted his stomach in content, as he looked around the table. Like him, everybody had the same amount of food. And also like him, they were rubbing their bellies in content. Well, the children were. Tsunade was picking her teeth with a senbon needle, to remove some excess sausage skin. That was a delicious breakfast, Naruto-kun. Suan said, smiling at her fiancé. Why, thank you, Suhaim. Naruto said, smiling at her. Before he turned to the children, how did you like the meal, you three? They each perked up and extended their plates. Can we have seconds? They each said with smiles on their faces. Naruto rubbed his chin in thought. Maybe later. Now is the time to get you three some better clothes. The three children frowned, before the prospect of getting new things entered their minds, and they smiled brightly. Really? We're going to get new clothes? Conan said with hearts in her eyes. Ah geez, females and their urge to shop. Naruto nearly forced himself to think. Conan, Tsunade, you two should go together. I'll take Nagato and Yahiko. He said sweetly to the girls in the room. Of course, you would probably buy her things she didn't want. Tsunade said, hugging the blue-haired child against her bosom. Naruto appeared behind Nagato and Yahiko and rubbed each of their heads. So then it's set. Naruto said, smirking. He looked at Yahiko. You ready to get ready, smartass? I'm ready as I can be, stupid. Yahiko said, making Naruto's eyebrow twitch. Nagato could feel the aura around Naruto and shuddered. I think you should stop with the insults, Yahiko, the redhead whispered. Never. It's fun. The orange-haired boy whispered back. Oh, I'm gonna make you boys strong. Naruto said, smirking as they disappeared in a body flicker. Tsunade and Conan just stood there looking at the interaction and was sweat dropping. Naruto-sensei isn't going to torture me too, is he? Conan asked with concern in her voice and eyes. Tsunade looked down at the cute girl and frowned. Let's go shopping and not think about that, she said, ushering the brunette to the door. Naruto walked around the small village with his two students, children in tow. Yes, now that he's thinking about it, he kind of considered the three orphans as his children. I think it would have happened even if Nagato wasn't my cousin, he thought, smiling as Yahiko grabbed his hand, dragging him towards a clothes store. Come on, stupid, in here. Yahiko continued to taunt. Naruto just ignored the insult and allowed himself to be dragged by the child. Nagato just followed them, already having given up on stopping Yahiko from insulting his cousin. Hello, welcome to my clothing store. I hope you enjoy your shopping, a sweet middle-aged woman said. Naruto smiled at her and nodded a thanks. It was then that he noticed that Yahiko had let go of his hand and was currently running through the store. Naruto looked down at his cousin. Nagato, why don't you go find something to wear? He said, nudging the child towards some racks. Hi, Itoko-sensei, Nagato said, walking forward and joining Yahiko in shopping. Naruto raised his eyebrow at Nagato's title for him. Well, it's better than stupid or idiot, or ignoramus. How does he even know that word? He thought incredulously. Ah, your children are adorable. Naruto heard a voice from behind him. He turned to see the shopkeeper smiling. What? They're not my kids. But I do think of them as my children. Naruto said softly with a smile. So, you're a single parent raising two young boys. That's kind of sexy, she said softly, finding Naruto incredibly handsome and brave for raising two children. Naruto was about to answer when his mouth zipped shut and sweat started rolling all over his face. I'd hate to tell you, but that hunk of man is already taken. The woman turned around to see Tsunade standing there, with Conan by her side. And how do you know? She asked, unaware of the consequences. I'm his fiancé, that's how. The blonde said, cracking her knuckles. Fortunately, Naruto was able to quell Tsunade's irritation by lightly grasping her fists in his. Calm down, Suhaim. She didn't know the situation of the topic. He spoke softly. While Naruto was calming Tsunade down, Conan joined her fellow orphan family. How long have you two been here? She asked, eyeing their separate piles of clothing. A couple of minutes and we've already got 3 outfits, each. Yahiko said, looking at his clothes in acceptance. Are you just now starting to shop? Nagato asked from his position on a nearby bench, trying on a pair of black shoes. The brunette shook her head. No, this was like the second place we went to since leaving the hotel. What? How did you already shop at a different store in the span of no less than 10 minutes? They both shouted, before only Yahiko spoke. Conan giggled at their shocked faces. The last place was really good. It was too bad, they didn't have any more clothes that could fit me, she said, smiling as she looked at the adult couple. Naruto currently had Tsunade's face in his hands, palm on each cheek. Tsunade, when are you going to calm down? He asked, a little irritated. As soon as I have this baby. She nearly screamed. Naruto growled, but that's 9 months away. By now Tsunade had wrestled his hands free of her face and her scowl could be seen as bright as day. Well, maybe you should have thought against knocking me up, she said, crossing her arms over her large breast. Naruto smirked at the blonde. I knocked you up because I love you. And I can't wait for you to have your baby, he said, smiling. Naruto didn't get a response, other than Tsunade smothering him in her bosom, with light tears rolling down her face. Hormones. Naruto droned in his mind. The Orphan's sweat dropped at the scene. I hope she's not like this all the time, Yahiko whispered, in case she could hear them. I don't know, Ka-chan wasn't that moody when we left the hotel. Conan said, watching as Tsunade released Naruto, lest he end up dead from lack of oxygen. Ka-chan, when did that happen? Yahiko asked, as he was always the brash one. Well, yeah, I consider Tsunade-sama my new mother. Don't you feel the same towards Naruto-sensei? He's like our new father. Conan questioned as she absently caressed her origami flower in her hair. I know I do. Even though he's already my cousin, I can already feel a bond forming between us. Nagato kind of meekly. Well, I don't want to be related to an idiot, Yahiko said, obviously doubting his true feelings. What? Naruto yelled from across the room. He stomped towards the youngsters, cracking his knuckles. Ooh, I can't wait until we get to the village, he mused evilly as 2 shadow clones appeared to take the clothes to the front to be paid for. Naruto's features softened as he looked at Conan. You already have what you want, right, Conan-chan? Naruto asked. Conan nodded her head with a smile on her face. Hi to sensei, she chirped happily. Naruto smiled and tousled her hair a little, being mindful of the paper flower in her hair. Good, he said, standing to his full height. After we return to the hotel and you 3 get dressed, we'll continue towards Konoha, he said, turning and grabbing Tsunade's hand and walking out of the store with the clones carrying the bags. What just happened? Why was the idiot so nice to you, when he was mean to me and Nagato? Yahiko asked as they trailed behind the adults, keeping his voice at a whisper. Whoa, speak for yourself. He's only being mean to you, because you keep calling him an idiot, Nagato said with an equal whisper. Yeah, maybe if you stop calling him an idiot then he'll lighten up on you, Conan said as she lightly flicked Yahiko in the forehead. Yahiko held his forehead in indignation and slightly glared at Conan. What you do that for? She giggled at his mad face and smiled. Because you deserve it, she said as they finally arrived at the hotel. Naruto smiled as he had heard everything the kids were saying. The pleasures of chakra. Alright, you 3, go get dressed and I'll have a clone get lunch ready. Yahiko and Nagato immediately grabbed their respective bag from the clone and ran into the room. Conan walked in front of Tsunade and smiled. Tsunade returned the smile and unsealed her scroll. Out from the scroll was 5 large bags of clothes. I really shouldn't be surprised, but damn, that's a lot of clothes, Naruto said with wide eyes. Tsunade giggled. You know I love to shop, whenever I can, she said, rubbing her head, just like Naruto would always do. Naruto rolled his eyes and watched as Conan gathered an outfit and walked into the other bedroom. He nodded at the clone that had yet to dispel and it began the making of lunch, grumbling about lazy bosses. So what are you going to do, when we get to the village? If you're serious like I know you are about this marriage, then being an Anbu captain isn't a good idea, Tsunade said as she and Naruto cuddled on a couch. If you know that, then it's pretty obvious what I'm going to do, Naruto said before receiving a small and yet painful hit to his chest. Oh, no super hits. He chastised the blonde. Tsunade smirked. Oh, you'll know if the punch is super. She said, snickering and lightly pinching his chest. Naruto rolled his eyes again and leaned his head against her own head, which resided on part of his chest. But yeah, when we get to Konoha, it's straight to Nissan to tell him I resign from the Anbu Corps. It's been 5 years anyway, a year past a full term, he said, slowly playing with one of her ponytails. Speaking of your brother, do you think he's going to finally fund the training of field medics to be a part of every squad? She asked, slightly raising her head to look into his eyes. Naruto smiled. Definitely, now that the war is over he can focus on that. I'm sure Tsukumo or Orochimaru has already told him the news. In Konoha Hiruzen Sarutobi sat in his desk. He had grown a lot older, now nearing his 40s. He had also grown in strength and respect. Thanks to Tsukumo, he now knew the war was over. The civilians and ninja were already in the streets celebrating their victory, the second time the Leaf Village has escaped destruction by their enemies. This war did gain a couple of things, like with the surrender of Suna, they had agreed to sign an alliance treaty with their previous enemies. The treaty was faced with animosity on both sides of the signing. Like the honored siblings, mostly Chio, had a deep resentment towards both Tsunade, for the countless times she found cures for her poison. And most of all Tsukumo, the White Fang of Konoha, had killed her parents. Ebizo didn't have any resentment, because he knew it was part of war. Hiruzen sighed as he thought of the people who were responsible for the outcome. Naruto and Tsukumo. Those two really put themselves in all kinds of danger to destroy their enemies. Kai helped also, but she wasn't much a heavy fighter like her teammates. She's more into illusionary techniques and sensing enemies. Hiruzen thought about Tsukumo's wife. He had married them as soon as they were 17. Those two, Kai and Tsukumo, loved each other deeply and married despite a war being active. They tried to convince Naruto to marry Tsunade, but he was stubborn about Tsunade being further targeted because of her status and all that noise. Thinking about Tsunade made him think about the rest of his team and their contribution to the war. Orochimaru was ruthless and calm as ever, always striving to overachieve whenever it was possible. Jiraiya was both idiotic and heroic in rescuing many platoons of shinobi with his large arsenal of techniques. And back to Tsunade, who he felt was also the reason they won the war. If it was not for her, many counteractions against Chio's poison, Konoha would have suffered far more losses in this war. It was too bad she and Naruto haven't wed yet. Thinking about Tsunade made him think about his own love life. His wife, Bawako, had gave birth to a healthy son. His son's name was Kensei Sarutobi, named after Bawako's father. He was already showing himself to be a competent shinobi at his age of 10. He and his wife had been married for about 13 years. It was because of her that he embodied the will of fire so fervently. He and Naruto, his little adoptive brother, turned dangerous man. The will of fire was literally blazing with them both. Hiruzen heard a knock at his door and sighed. I guess break time is over. He thought as he signaled for the person to enter with the word, enter. The person turned out to be his secretary. Sir, you have a Danzo here, the redhead said. What could Danzo want? Hiruzen thought curiously. Yeah, sure, bring him in. No sooner did he say that, the man in question walked in from behind the secretary. He had bandages around his head, covering his right eye, and his right sleeve was tied neatly to prevent it from hanging loosely. He still wore a Junin outfit and he didn't seem to get weaker, due to his missing appendage. He held his left hand up, signaling for his two subordinates to leave him to his privacy with the Hokage. They nodded and vanished. The professor raised his eyebrows. Was that your personal route you've been working on these past 5 years? He asked, interlacing his fingers and having them overlapping his mouth. Danzo nodded. Hi, they were a little difficult to train, due to the fact that my regime is brutal. But it panned out alright, with a little side effects. He muttered the last part, but it was still heard by the Hokage. Side effects? What kind of side effects? Hiruzen questioned, narrowing his eyes at his advisor. Danzo ignored the look and gazed to where he knew one of the hidden Anbu were, well hiding. Well, as you know, your Anbu handle dangerous missions that have reached your attention. They are strong and loyal to you, and most importantly they retain their emotions for when they're off duty, he began explaining. The War Hawk's eyes quickly glanced at Hiruzen. Well, my route are pretty much the same with some rather minor tweaks. What kind of tweaks are you speaking of? The Fire Shadow asked rather curiously, since his knowledge of the group was rather scarce. Well, like your Anbu, they handle dangerous missions, except these missions don't ever reach the light of day. Meaning that we protect the root of the great tree of Konoha from the shadows. He stopped and broke eye contact with the Hokage. They are also only loyal to me, he added, waiting for the outburst, but it never came. So you're telling me that you have a group of individuals that go on even more dangerous missions than my own Anbu, he deducted, letting the information settle in his mind. How do they feel about that? He finally asked. Not a damn thing, he said, making Hiruzen's eyes widen. It seems sometime during their training, their minds broke completely. They're completely emotionless, they don't feel a thing. Their prime objective is the mission. It's amazing how much success they've had in the field, he said, crazily grinning wide. Sarutobi stood to his feet from behind his desk. Danzo, that's inhuman. You've took the emotions from human beings to complete your own gains. No, not my gains. The villages. You know that I love the village and want to protect it more than I want to protect anything else. Root does just that. You are the leaves that bathe in the sun, while I am the roots that grow in the dark. Sarutobi glared at Danzo for a while. He knew that Root has been busy, and from the vague understanding, the missions they went on were the dirtiest of the dirty missions shinobi could go on. But he couldn't deny that they were essential for their prowess in the stealth game. He then walked towards the window and looked over his village. Seeing all the smiling faces made him smile, before he imagined them emotionless with a sword in hand. He closed his eyes tight. I'm sorry, Danzo, but I'm going to have to disband your project. This angered Danzo. What? Did you not hear what I've just told you? I've heard every single word. And don't get me wrong, during a war they are outstanding and highly appreciated. Then why are you? But that's just it. The war is over. They are no longer needed. We have entered the era of peace and Root is chaotic. Dismissed, he said, waving his hand at the man. But Hokage, Danzo tried to question, only to have a force of ki dropped on him. I said dismissed, he ordered, keeping an eye on Danzo's reflection. Danzo's eyes narrowed and darkened. He gave a short bow and glared at Sarutobi's back. You're a fool, Hiruzen. Peace in a shinobi world will not last forever, he said as he turned and left the office. I have a bad feeling about the future, Hiruzen mused. Danzo walked out of the large red building and was soon joined by his two agents. I take it by your emotionless face that the Hokage didn't take it well, the male agent on his left said as the trio soon took to the rooftops. Danzo kept his gaze ahead. It could have been worse. How's Danzo-sama? The female on the right asked. I could have went into detail about how you lost your emotions, Danzo said. Though the two didn't have any emotions, they couldn't help but shiver at the thought of the training they went through. Having to kill the person they thought of as a sibling just to survive was horrible. The amount of mental conditioning they each went through after was just as horrible, and the final fight against Danzo himself always put each of them in the ward. Danzo would absolutely admit that medical ninjutsu was a great asset to have and had to applaud Tsunade on her ingenious amount of knowledge on the subject. Her and the other two were a strong team, slightly trailing behind Naruto and his own team. One of his agents had just returned from the battlefield, telling him that Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya were crowned the Densetsu no Sannin by Hanzo of the Salamander, just before the Futogo no Jin Okami came and finished the job. More importantly, Naruto laid waste to the man. Naruto, the Senso no Kami, god of war, or Shinobi no Kami, god of shinobi. Whatever he wanted to be called, was truly a force of nature, just like his namesake, Maelstrom. Even without that bloodline of his, he was considered an S-rank ninja, and he knew that Hiruzen was even considering stepping down to have Naruto take the throne, so to speak, next. Are you really going to let the Hokage disband what you've worked so hard on? The male agent said, knocking Danzo from his thoughts. The War Hawk scoffed, quite the opposite. I now know that giving Sarutobi that update was a bad idea, so we're going to have to do some relocating. It's time for us to really go underground, he said emotionlessly. X with Naruto X. Naruto and Tsunade were walking with the AIM orphans, now dubbed their unofficial children, who were positioned in front of them. Yahiko, the official leader of the three, wore a dark red shirt and a pair of black shorts, with a pair of black sandals. Nagato wore a pair of black pants and a similar dark red shirt. He also wore a pair of black sandals. Konan wore a white blouse, similar to Tsunade's own white blouse, and a pair of black pants. Ultimately they looked like a team, all they needed was shinobi gear and the skills to go with them. Naruto-kun, did we leave anything at the hotel? Tsunade asked from her place beside the silver-haired man. Naruto raised his eyebrow at the weird question. No, Suheim. I have everything sealed up, he said, taking the scroll out of his pouch for proof. Why such an odd question? He asked the blonde female curiously. She shrugged. No reason, she said. Naruto gazed at her for a while. You're bored, huh? He came to the conclusion, causing her to nod at her head. Me too, he said, hanging his head solemnly. Maybe if we were already in the village then, we wouldn't be bored anymore. Tsunade analyzed, because then they would have things to do, except walk slowly to their destination. Yeah, and then I would be able to train those three, he said, chuckling as he rubbed the back of his head. Not to mention, they can go to the academy. With my father. He thought, knowing that Minato was found, just like he was. And was now in the academy learning the basics. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. They could learn their basics, while we teach them more advanced things. They going to be the strongest group ever to come out of the academy, since, well, us. Tsunade said, lightly bouncing, causing her bust to jiggling within Naruto's sight. Naruto grinned, hypnotized by the cleavage. Yes, to the academy. He droned before shaking his head. Yeah, we better hurry up. Going this pace is starting to get to me, he said, making seal-less clones before they snatched up the surprised children and they took to the trees. With this new speed, we shall be in the village within the hour, Naruto said as trees literally blurred by them. An hour later. Naruto laughed as Yahiko continued to curse him for just snatching him up like that. Calm down, Hiko-chan, Naruto said between chuckles. No, that was just mean. I was unprepared and I got a little sick, the orange-haired child said, his face red with anger. Naruto stopped laughing and frowned. I'm sorry, Yahiko-kun, maybe I set the speed a little too fast. Can you forgive me? He asked, crouching down to his level and laying a hand on his shoulder. The other three waited with bated breath, hoping that Yahiko would accept his apology. They weren't disappointed when Yahiko suddenly wrapped Naruto in a hug. Apology accepted, Tsu-san. The Uzumaki stopped frowning and smiled softly and returned the hug. He had to remember that Yahiko was without a family for a long time and it was his job to fill in that void. Naruto released the hug and kept his hand on Yahiko's shoulder as they walked closer to the village. Ah, Naruto-san, Tsunade-san, welcome back to the village, one of the Chunin gate guards said, bowing. How's it going, Riko-san? Still a Chunin gate guard, I see, Naruto said, waving at the female Chunin. Hi, it's a relaxing job and I don't feel like advancing a rank, Riko said, slightly blushing. She was always blushing, everywhere she went. Oh, and who's the cute little munchkins? She said, noticing the three kids behind both Naruto and Tsunade. Tsunade chose this moment to enter the conversation. These three are going to be our children, as soon as we get to the Hokage. The red-head one is Nagato-kun, the blue-net is Konan-chan, and the orange-haired one is Yahiko-kun. Thankfully Nagato's hair was covering his eyes and Riko couldn't see the Rinnegan on full blast like it always was. Come on, you three, say hi to the nice lady. Naruto said softly, scooting Yahiko and Konan forward, while Tsunade did the same with Nagato. Hello Riko-san. They said in unison. Naruto-sensei, can we go now? Yahiko asked, pulling on Naruto's pants leg as he futilely tried to drag Naruto towards the Hokage building. Naruto chuckled. Alright Riko-san, I'll be going now. I still think you should take your Jonin exams, he said, finally letting Yahiko drag him away. As soon as they were away from the gate, they noticed that people were out and about, celebrating the victory of winning the war. Wow, people are really letting loose. Tsunade commented, seeing all the sake in the hands of adults while kids ran through the streets. Yeah, it's great that they're enjoying themselves. Naruto said as people began cheering him, knowing he was a big reason they were victorious. Hurry, Yahiko said, dragging him harder. Naruto and the others chuckled, and after 5 minutes they were entering the large red building. Naruto waved to the many passing secretaries and soon they appeared at the large door with the leader of the village behind it. Now I want you three to be on your best behavior, he said, only looking at Yahiko, who looked sheepish at being singled out. Hi Ni-sama, Naruto said, busting through the door, completely contradicting what he just told the kids. Hiruzen sighed, slowly shaking his head. While it was normal for Naruto to call him Ni-sama and bust through the door, it was starting to get frustrating. Hello, to you too Naruto Odoto, Hiruzen said, cracking open an eye. I see you brought more than Hanzo home with you, he said, already knowing that the silver-haired captain would be bring the previous leader of AIM's body to be analyzed and all that good stuff. Naruto nodded, taking out said scroll and throwing it at a random corner, only for it to disappear. And Anbu already transporting it to the place that did the dissections and the experiments and all that good stuff. Hi Ni-sama. These three followed us, shortly after defeating Hanzo. I think you'll be surprised that all of them are special, he said, smiling. Hiruzen had the feeling that this was going to be a surprising meeting. Enlighten me Naruto-kun. How special could they be? Naruto smiled. Well, this one, he said, indicating Yahiko. I don't really know yet, but I know he's pretty smart for his age, he said, lightly tapping on his head. He moved over to Konan. This one has a very special bloodline that allows her to control paper. She might even be able to turn into a flock of paper when she gets stronger, he said, knowing that much, since Jiraiya told him when they were training for those 3 years. Finally Naruto moved to Nagato. This one is the most surprising Ni-sama. Not only is he my cousin, he said, watching Hiruzen's eyes widen, since that meant that the little boy was an Uzumaki and the only Uzumakis left after the destruction of their village were Mito, who was very old, Naruto, Kushina, who came to become the next Jinchuriki and was currently in the academy, and now this little boy. Before he could even ask how he knew this, Naruto moved the strands of hair away from his eyes, but he also has the Rinnegan, he said, finally letting the Hokage's head drop on his desk, completely out of it. Tsunade giggled. He took that well. And that's not even all the news I have to tell him. Naruto commented, chuckling also. An hour later. After recovering and learning the other information Naruto had to offer, Hiruzen mulled over the information given. So you're telling me that you want these three to be your children and students? You want to resign from the Corps and return to being an elite Jonin and a sensei at that? You're finally going to marry Tsunade because she's now pregnant. Did I leave anything out? Hiruzen said, leaning against his hand. The spiky-haired Jonin rubbed his chin in thought. Yeah, you forgot the part where my team becomes stronger than your own. Naruto said, smirking proudly. Naruto's smirk became a grimace as he was poked in the side. He turned his head to see Tsunade whistling innocently. You better be careful, Odoto. I've trained my students to near perfection. They've even went up against Hanzo the salamander himself. And I killed him myself. True. Only after my team wore him out. My ass, they did. Naruto scoffed before getting poked again. Ouch, Tsunade-chan, that hurts. Naruto groaned. Stop arguing with sensei. She chided. Naruto glared at Hiruzen's smirk. This isn't over, Ni-sama. You might have trained your team to near perfection, but my team is going to be absolute, he said, leaving the room. The three new, official, members of Naruto's family sensed the tension in the room leave with Naruto and decided to leave with him. Tsunade watched her children leave and sighed. Did you really have to do all that, sensei? The blonde said, resting her hands on her hips. Hiruzen smiled. You already know I had to. I did the same with you three. I told you three what you couldn't accomplish and sat back and watched you accomplish everything. Naruto's going to do the same to his team. Tsunade frowned, knowing how insanely brutal her sensei's training was. She mentally shuddered at having to think about it. And if she knew her Naruto-kun, his training was even more brutal. Who knew a Nara could be so vicious? Tsunade thought about the infamous man who trained Naruto, Tsukumo and Kai. His name was Shinzu Nara. Like all Naras, he was both incredibly smart and equally lazy. But unlike other Naras, he was easily motivated. His ambition to put his team through hell was easily accomplished. She was glad they returned from that hell. She was interrupted from her thoughts when the door opened. She smiled when one of the subjects of her thoughts walked through. Tsunade-chan, I didn't know you were back. One Hatake Kai said, closing the distance between them and hugging her. She was a very beautiful woman. She had long and beautiful snow-white hair that reached her back, but was currently in a single ponytail. Exotic crystal blue eyes and plump lips covered in blue lipstick. She wore a dark blue dress that went to the middle of thighs. Over her shoulders was a white jacket. Her dress was slit both down the side of her left leg and also down her chest. She had a large C-cup bust and another bump, signifying her pregnant status. To finish it off, she had on a pair of regular sandals, because she was pregnant. Oh wow, you look amazing, Kai-chan, I didn't know you were pregnant. She said, hugging her again. What's the occasion? She asked, this time indicating the clothes. Nothing really. Me and Tsukumo-koi are just out enjoying each other's company. Kai said. Tsunade rose her eyebrow. Really? Then what are you doing here? Kai smiled widely. We sensed Naruto's return long ago. Being a sensor, I'm able to judge someone's chakra, and I can tell that Naruto's usual calm chakra was all over the place in happiness. Tsukumo was able to prevent me from coming to see what caused it for only an hour. Well, here I am. Now tell me the good news, she said, smiling and preventing herself from using her skills to find out what, since it'll ruin the surprise. Tsunade giggled a little and lightly scratched the back of her head. Well, wow, Naruto, I leave you alone for a couple of days and you already have 3 kids with one on the way. Tsukumo said, shaking his head. He was only wearing a dark blue button shirt and white pants and white sandals, while his wife had his white jacket. His short white hair was kind of presentable. It was still spiky and shaggy at the same time. The ponytail in the back was slightly cut shorter and neatly tied. Naruto chuckled while rubbing the back of his head. His official children snickered in their seats by the 2 adults. What can I say? A lot of things happened after you left. I can tell. So this is your team? He said, looking at the kids. Naruto smiled and looked at the children. Yeah, I'm going to torture the hell out of them, he whispered. Naruto and Tsukumo smiled when they heard a yell of happiness. I guess Kai-chan found out about my pregnant wife-to-be. Naruto said, chuckling. Yeah, it's surprising that she just ignored these 3 here. Tsukumo said, slightly disappointed. Naruto nodded. She must have only been focused on me and Tsunade. That and these 3 are still new to the village. Just when Naruto said that, Kai came out of nowhere and wrapped her arms around the Uzumaki, being mindful of the large belly. Congratulations, Naruto ni. Kai squealed, putting all the hugging power she could. Naruto chuckled. Arigato, Kai Onichan. Naruto said, returning the hug. Feeling her large stomach, Naruto chuckled. Wow, you're really blowing up, Onichan, he said, releasing the hug. He then rubbed the large stomach. How far along are you now? 5 months. She said happily, now joining in the rubbing. I can't wait until I have this baby so I can get into my sexier dresses for Saku-kun. So when are you going to have your wedding? The snow-haired woman asked. It's going to be maybe a week away. Tsunade said, walking down the stairs. Kai let out a small gasp. Why so far away? She said, looking at Naruto. We have to get the children settled into the house. Also, we have to show them around the village and get them familiar with it. Naruto listed off some reason, to which Kai only heard one word. Children. You already have children. She said, causing Naruto to smile and point at the three who were whispering to each other. Ah, they're so adorable. She squealed and quickly appeared in front of them, comically hugging all three. After a few minutes of just seeing Kai smother the former orphans, Tsunade stopped it with a clearing of her throat. Kai blushed in embarrassment and backed up a little. What are your names, little darlings? She asked, still quite bubbly. Konan Uzumaki. The brunette said, giggling at the older woman. Yahiko Uzumaki. The orange-haired child said plainly. Nagato Uzumaki. Nagato smiled, being the only one who didn't have his name changed. Oh, they're so adorable. Kai said again. So I guess the redhead here is a true Uzumaki. She said, indicating his ripple-patterned eyes. Yay. That's my cousin. Naruto sighed, having to explain that for about the second, maybe third time since they united. Yes, Kai-hime, that's his cousin. Now they have a lot to do, so can we get back to our date? Tsukumo grumbled, crossing his arms. Kai stood to her full height. Fine, Tsukumo-kun. She pouted, also crossing her arms. Until next time, Naruto-kun, Tsunade-chan, adorable kids, she said, walking to Tsukumo and letting him lead her out of the building. Naruto watched his genin team walk out of the building. Well, now it's time to show these three their new home. Tsunade nodded and gestured for the kids to follow them. With that, Naruto and company began their journey to the clan district of the village. It took them little over 20 minutes to get there, because they toured the former orphans on the way. The orphans were surprised to see such a regular house. Sure, it was big, but compared to the Hyuga mansion across the way, it was tame. It was a large two-story building that had some cherry blossom trees framing the walkway. A large lake was in the back, next door to a separate training room. From what they can tell, just from looking from the outside, it had to have at least 6 bedrooms. How many bathrooms was unknown due to the fact that they only seen 6 windows from the front of the house. Wow! They exclaimed, still quite amazed from the realization that they were going to be living there. Get comfortable, you three, because after the wedding you're going to miss it, he said, smirking, ignoring Tsunade's poke at his ribs. The three rolled their eyes, but knowing that he wasn't playing. Stop scaring them, Naruto-kun. Tsunade chastised. Naruto scoffed. Scared? They don't look scared at all. Whatever. Show them around the place, I need to go somewhere. Naruto said, resting his hand on Nagato's head. Where are you going and why do you need to take Nagato with you? She curiously asked. I'm taking Nagato to see Ba-chan. She's still the head of the Uzumaki. Naruto said, leaning in to kiss Tsunade. She slightly moaned. Hurry back and say hi to Grandma for me. The blonde said, smiling as the Uzumakis vanished in a body flicker. Yahiko and Konan looked at Tsunade in slight concern. What's going to happen to Nagato-kun? Konan asked. Tsunade sounded, barely hearing what Konan asked as she was still immersed in the feeling of kissing Naruto. Oh yeah, Nagato is going to be fine. You have nothing to worry about, Konan-chan. Now let's get you two settled. Tsunade said, leading them into the house. Naruto appeared deep in the residential district of the village. A few children were still out playing, before the sun completely disappeared. Mothers sat in chairs, already tired from their short celebration of winning the war. So you said this, Ba-chan, person was still the head of the clan. How come you haven't took over? Nagato asked. We actually had that conversation after we finished fighting. Naruto said, looking down at the young redhead. You fought the clan head. What, are you crazy? Nagato said, knowing that Naruto was obviously crazy. I'm not crazy, but man was that a good fight. It happened about a decade ago. I fought two Uzumaki women in the span of 24 hours. He thought as he began thinking about the fight. X flashback a decade ago X. The 12-year-old Naruto walked through the forest, accompanied by Mito Uzumaki, who was around her late 50s and still looking like she 30. Her long dark red hair, freely cascade down her back and all accessories were put away, as they would only get in the way. Are you ready for the fight of your life? The Uzumaki clan head spoke, dressed in a simple and yet elegant dark blue battle suit. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Naruto spoke still wearing the same attire he wore while fighting his mother, which he just finished not even a day ago. It's time to see just what the hell the Kyuubi wants, he thought. Good, because I have a few conditions for the fight, she said as they entered a fairly large clearing, also inhabited by a large lake. Naruto clenched his fist a couple of times. Tell him, he simply said, moving across the clearing. I want to see how you fight without the Rinnegan. We must remember that these eyes are just a tool for us to use. We mustn't get dependent on them. Mito said, temporarily activating her Rinnegan only to deactivate them just as quickly. Trust me, Ba-chan, I know that, he said. Humph. She grunted as crimson chakra began oozing out of her body. Naruto stood in shock as the kitsune's cloak wrapped around Mito's body. He knew how it felt to have it wrap around him, but experiencing the pure malice and hate wash over his body was a new experience for him. So this is what everybody's been feeling every time I use the fox's cloak. Naruto thought as he felt the pure killer intent crash down on him. Shit. This is too much. He cursed in his mind. Only one. He didn't have time to figure out how to counteract the feeling, because soon, Mito appeared in front of him and punched him hard. His small body flew across the clearing and literally skipped across the water. Fuck. What the hell? Fucking Kyuubi. The silvery-haired preteen reached for the bank of the lake and lifted his body out of the water. He rested on his back and looked in the sky. He noticed a spot in the sky that seemed to be getting closer. He cursed again as it quickly dropped on his position, making a large water-filled crater. The preteen panted quickly. He barely had time to substitute out of there. Damn, was I this fast when I was using the Kyuubi's cloak? Naruto thought. Only one. Naruto growled in annoyance as the Kyuubi's voice popped up again. That damn fox is fucking up my concentration, he thought, shaking his head. Unknown to Naruto, Kyuubi was also in Mito's head. The main Kyuubi, inside of Mito, was being heard more clearly. Only one Kyuubi. It spoke, pushing more chakra through the, thought of to be completely reinforced, seal. Naruto looked and noticed a fully formed second tail grew from the cloak. He sighed and his fingers lit on fire, a different elemental symbol on each finger. Let's see if this works, he mumbled as he blasted forward. He thrust his palm forward, before his thought process thought of something. Wait a minute, where's her seal at? He thought, since her abdomen was in clear view and no seal was there. Fuck. He cursed as he was unable to dodge the punch that rocketed him back towards the lake. This time he skipped across the hard ground and into a very dense oak tree. He coughed up blood as his stomach crashed into the oak. He was starting to get pissed at being a punching bag. He thought of something and created a clone. It was time, but in the meantime he had to keep Mito away from his clone. Lightning began crackling around his body and he felt his entire body become slightly numb with all the lightning around it. He grinned at the woman who was busy grabbing her head and swinging it around as a third tail sprouted. He took notice of the new appendage and upped the electrical output. Raiden no Yoroi, lightning style armor, the most useful lightning technique ever, he thought as he literally disappeared. He was in front of Mito in a split second and it was her turn to fly through the clearing. And fly she did. Naruto's toe wasn't even on the ground for a millisecond before he gave chase after the flying woman. He was pleased his lightning-cloaked body allowed him to reach her in no time at all, but damn was it taxing on his body. Naruto quickly enclosed his fist together, making a single double-handed fist. He quickly slammed that on Mito's Yukai cloaked body, sending her straight into the earth. After he did that, he quickly backed up and waited for her to emerge. After 3 seconds, the ground started shaking and a pillar of demonic energy shot into the sky. That's not good, Naruto thought, as that was sure to bring more attention to their fight. 2 seconds after the pillar of Yuki, Naruto's body was grabbed by an arm of Yuki. The lightning and Yuki were fighting each other for dominance, so Naruto didn't feel anything from being grabbed. He looked down to see 6 tails of pure destruction swaying behind Mito. Her body was crouched and a skeletal structure was above her, acting like some kind of fox bone armor. He cursed and his eyes flashed. "Shinra Tensei," he said, forcing the arm off of him. He kept the eyes blazing as he faced off against the 6 tails. Is this what Pain experienced when we fought? Fuck, I have to figure a way to calm her down, Naruto thought as his clone dispelled and he received power of the sage. He smirked as he blasted forward, Mito doing the same. Punches, kicks, grab attempts, and mini Shinra Tenseis were used in a span of a few seconds. Until a lucky Rasengan connected with Mito's Yuki cloaked abdomen. He was immediately blasted backwards. His cloak vanished, as did his sage mode. Use it, it's your only chance at survival, use it. Almost immediately a second pillar of Yuki rose to pierce the sky. But it wasn't from Mito, but from Naruto. The previously thought of to be absorbed Kyuubi finally emerged from deep within Naruto. Now the silver-haired preteen was also cloaked in a 6-tailed, bone armor state. Now the two Jinchuriki faced each other and met in a clash of power that instantly cratered the area. After that, everything went dark for both of them. Naruto's eyes opened to the vision of darkness. It was only after his eyes fully focused that he noticed the pipes. He was in his sewer-detailed mindscape, a place he hasn't been in for years. He noticed he was floating in water and stood up, said water reaching his waist. It's never reached that high before, Naruto thought as he noticed a strong red glow in the distance. Of course he knew that he had to go there. So go he did. As he was going, the glow was getting stronger and the pipes that indicated his silver chakra was getting skinnier. Soon after a couple of twists and turns, he stepped into a familiar room that seemed to have gotten larger. He noticed a fox on his left, behind his standard cage, with the familiar seal tag keeping the gate closed. In his process to looking right, he noticed Mito entering from another hallway. Only she was looking to her left, in the process of looking right. Their eyes connected and they proceeded to look to their right. Naruto instantly noticed another Kyuubi no Yoko, except this one was chained in every way imaginable for a fox its size. The chains made it completely immobile except for the 6 tails that moved freely behind him. So the containers finally joined minds to visit us, spoke Q from its chained position. I'm going to call Naruto's Kyuubi Yoko, while I call Mito's Kyuubi Q, but remember that Naruto's Kyuubi is caged and Mito's Kyuubi is chained. Naruto turned to face Yoko. What's the meaning of this? I was positive you were absorbed a long time ago, completely purified by the activation of my Rinnegan. You screwed up, Kit. Your seal failed to do its job, Yoko said, ignoring the question. What does it mean? Mito said, walking up to Naruto. So it seems I become soft in the future, Q said. You shut your damn mouth, Yoko said, growling at the other Kyuubi. Future. What does he mean? Mito asked, looking at the caged Kyuubi. Go on, explain to her, mortal. Explain your fuck up, Q said, growling as its tail smashed against the walls and floor behind him. Naruto's mind was going a mile a minute as everything literally flashed before his eyes. Everything soon clicked to realization. Okay, Mito-sama, here's the truth. I'm from the future. The caged Kyuubi is mine, obviously the other is yours. Naruto dropped the bomb. The future. But time travel is impossible, Mito exclaimed, completely skeptic about the situation. Not for the king of fucking up there, Q said. Naruto glared at the chained fox. I'm not a fuck up, I just make mistakes. So you're 12 again, huh? Damn, that must be hell, and with a new everything. What happened to your blonde hair? Yoko asked. Naruto enjoyed the change of subject and nodded. Yeah, except this time I actually had a good childhood, even if it's filled with war. And my hair, Naruto said, grabbing his silver bangs. Yeah, that changed with my chakra, he said, rubbing his long silver hair. I need a haircut, Naruto added with a chuckle. It's good to see you again, Naruto. Yoko said. Yeah, you too, furball. Naruto said, loving his nickname for the fox. Stop ignoring me, Q yelled, slamming his tails harder. The mindscape rumbled with the slamming, before chains sprouted and wrapped around the tails. There, Mito said after binding the fox. Now fully explain everything, she said, glaring at Naruto. With sweat going down his brow, Naruto explained everything, with Yoko adding that during his fight with Madara, his seal was further distorted and became an entirely different seal. Naruto told her about everything from his time, and then he told her about his mother and father and fighting his mother not even 24 hours ago. When I mean he told her everything, I mean everything. From his birth to that very moment. Mito stood there completely shocked. Wow, so Madara survived the fight with Hashirama-kun and went on to completely fuck up the world. Mito deduced. So what do we do about the two Kyubis? You have to fuse us together. Yoko said. Are you crazy? And give you 18 tails of power? Fuck that. Naruto said. No, idiot. You need to take complete control of my chakra and make it your own. And fuse my subconscious with the other. His own chakra will erode and all fade within him. That's the solution. That's why I've been telling you that there can be only one. Yoko said, giving Naruto and Mito their solution. Will you really let me do that? Naruto asked, only to see Yoko nod. I promise, and as a kitsune, I'm bound by my word. Yoko said. Arigato Kyuubi. Naruto said as he jumped at the cage and peeled the seal off. Instead of the gates bursting open, like Naruto would have thought, they slowly opened. The Kyuubi stepped out, his tail swinging around as he laid in front of Naruto. Naruto walked up to his snout and laid his hand on it. Sayonara Kyuubi no Yoko, he said as his body was immediately filled by Kyuubi's chakra. A flash of light blinded the spectators. A red glow overcame Naruto, before it started to dim and turn silver, before that disappeared. The light left and the spectators were surprised to see a spectral image of the Kyuubi at the size of a small fox. Now throw me at the other Kyuubi, Yoko said, loosing its powerful booming voice. Naruto did as he was told and watched as he lost the person that has been with him his whole life. With that, everything shattered. Naruto and Mito were returned to the outside world. They laid in a crater, their previous Yuki cloaks gone. It had seemed that all that time spent in their linked mindscapes was equivalent to a second in the real world. I think our fight's over, Mito said from her position on the floor. Yeah, I guess it is, Naruto said as the chakra signatures were only a few seconds away from them. So are you going to tell anybody else your secret? Naruto slowly shook his head. There'll be no reason to, he said, sitting up as nearly all of the Anbu and Jonin arrived at their location, with the Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, at the front. What the hell happened here? He asked in full Hokage mode. Oh, nothing. Naruto waved at him nonchalantly. I just said something I shouldn't have, Naruto said, chuckling nervously. How do you explain the two separate pillars of Yuki? Those were both me, upping the power. I do have complete control of the Kyuubi's power, the Uzumaki clan head said. You do not want to know what was said, trust me, she said, keeping up the act and menacingly glaring at Naruto. Hiruzen stared at the two. Okay, Naruto, you're not off the hook. Maybe your punishment should be changing Kensai's diaper for a month, he mused out loud as everybody left, sensing that they weren't needed, the Hokage included. Aw man, I hate changing Kensai's diaper. I swear if he pees on me one more time. Calm down, Naruto, Mito said, interrupting him. Naruto shook his head. Thanks, Mito-sama. What did I say about calling me Sama? She said, annoyed as she too sat up. But you are the clan head, thus you should have respect. Well, how about you take the title? Nah, too much responsibility. Not to mention having to go to the boring council meetings. Oh, don't get me started on the meetings. I mean, I love Tobarama dearly, rest his soul. But creating a civilian council was the dumbest thing ever. You're from the future, how come you didn't stop him? She said playfully, hitting him. And how was I supposed to do that? Was I supposed to go up to him and just say, "Oh Tobarama, don't make the civilian council, they fuck up the future"? How the hell was I supposed to explain that? Well, we'll never know now, will we? Mito said, standing to her feet. Whatever. I guess it's time for me to go home and deal with Ni-sama. Bye, Mito-sama. Stop calling me that, Mito said, slapping Naruto in the back of his head. Alright, bye, Bachan, Naruto said, substituting himself with a log, just in time, because the log exploded. End flashback X. Naruto was thrown from his reminiscing as they arrived at the house. Mito had moved from her house in the forest to the village, to take care of Kushina. Naruto knocked on the door and said, "Little girl," opened the door. "Ah, Naruto ni, what are you doing here?" Kushina said as Naruto crouched down to hug her. She's been calling him that, ever since he rescued her from the pursuing Iwa ninjas. Sadly, he was too late to save her uncles from certain death in front of her eyes. Naruto knew they were going to destroy Uzushiogakure, but he didn't know exactly when. So when word came that Kushina was being escorted to the village, he cursed, because it must have already happened. He promised her that he would always take care of her, but she was given to Mito to take care of, because she was the clan head. "Oh, I'm just here to see Bachan. I found another Uzumaki. His name is Nagato," he said, nudging Nagato forward. "Ooh, he has the Rinnegan too. How good is he with it?" Kushina asked as her blue eyes turned into the Rinnegan. "Not very. He just got it and he doesn't know how to deactivate it yet," Naruto said, rubbing Nagato's head. "Is that Naruto-kun I hear?" a voice said from the back. "Yeah, it's me, Bachan," Naruto said a little loud. Suddenly the gravity around him tripled and he nearly dropped to his knees. He groaned in annoyance, he had forgotten about that security system. The house had seals everywhere, and when a certain word was mentioned, the person would be subjected to extreme gravity. The only reason it hadn't happened before was because he wasn't in the house yet. Soon Mito walked into the living room. "Ah, you've gotten stronger. I'm sure you quickly cancelled your own gravity seals in the nick of time though," she said, snapping her fingers, cancelling the gravity effect. Naruto chuckled. "I can't believe you still remember about the 5-starred gravity seal," he said, resealing the gravity, as all the points returned to being on his wrists, ankles, and his neck. He hid the point on his neck with special makeup. Maybe it's time to go up to 3, he thought, since he's been at 2 for the longest. He cursed himself for forgetting about his creation up until a couple of weeks ago. She nodded and looked at Nagato. So he becomes pain. He doesn't look like much, she thought. Another one, Naruto. This is the second one. You're becoming a little Uzumaki hunter, huh? Naruto chuckled. Yeah, he said, but she heard it as, "Don't expect any more." Naruto began rubbing the back of his head. "So shall we talk over tea?" She nodded and walked towards the kitchen.